Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to episode 1 of the Mobilecast.net. We're coming to you live from our new Mobilecast studio here in northern New Jersey, home of the Cloudcast.net satellite office. Today's show is going to be a lot of fun as we kick this program off. So let me tell you a little bit what to expect here before we welcome our first ever guest to the show. The Mobilecast is a spin-off of the immensely successful Cloudcast.net, which is hosted by Aaron Delt and Brian Gracely. They want to expand the reach of their show and kindly reach out to ask me if I wanted to host. I have to say, I was immensely honored when they asked me, and I can promise that every now and then they will end up guest hosting here with me, and I'll probably have a few crossover episodes as well. As the first episode, you can guess from the name that we will be focusing on all topics mobile. Hopefully I will be able to bring some great guests on to talk about what they're doing in mobile, where mobile is going, and how it interacts with all the other technologies out there. My hope is to learn something new with every show, and that you as the listener do as well. So let me tell you a little bit about me. I am a director, head of mobility engineering at a large pharmaceutical company, and have been actively participating in mobile computing for over 10 years. Mobile started for me with the very first BlackBerry bricks, and since then I've used every brand of smartphone on the market. I usually rock at least 2 handsets and a number of tablets just to make sure I know what's going on in mobility. The plan here is to share some of that knowledge with you and to be able to ask some great questions of our guest. So with that said, I'm really pleased to introduce our very first guest to the Mobilecast, and that's Benjamin Robbins, co-founder of Palador Consulting. Ben is a unique guy in the mobile world in that a little more than a year ago he pledged to go mobile only for the next year, and that will be one of the topics we talk about today. So Ben, go ahead and introduce yourself, and welcome to the first episode of the Mobilecast.net.
Thanks. No, it's great to be here. My name's Benjamin Robbins, as Brian said. I am one of the co-founders of Palador. We do consulting, mobile consulting around both strategy and solutions. Located in Seattle, Washington, and have been doing this for about, I've been doing Palador for about 7.5 years now.
And what did you do before Palador?
Actually, my past is a mix of both consulting organizations and product organizations. I came up through the development ranks, so my background is in coding, but it would be very dangerous for me to code these days, being so far out. I think the developers here at Palador would be in horror if they just look at my code now. So I've given that up.
Well, you're certainly made a name for yourself in mobility, so let's start with the first question and first topic, Ben. You just finished up a year of going mobile only. What made you decide to give this challenge a try?
You know, it really stemmed from device overload, device and cable overload, really. From going on trips, having to lug around a laptop, phone. Sometimes, you got to work in personal phone as well as test phones, tablets, and then you've got, the PC back at the office and at home. So, just kind of tired of, where's this file? Is it on, this thing, that thing, different capabilities depending on where I'm at, and really wanted to consolidate down to a single device, get to one device that I had the same capabilities no matter where I was, anywhere, anytime. So started looking around at. Sorry, go ahead.
So Ben, how many devices were you actually using right before you started?
I was probably actively on. There probably was 4. So I had a desktop. I had a laptop. Actually, the laptop was the now dead netbooks line. And then I had a work phone and then like a test phone. So I was probably carrying around 4 things, and then all the accoutrements and cables and cases and everything else.
So Ben, what devices were you actually rocking before you actually started going mobile only with a single device?
Yeah, so at that point I actually had 4 devices. I had a personal phone, work/test phone, a laptop. Actually it was the netbooks, so the now dead netbook line, and then a desktop.
Okay, so in the beginning, what were the hardest things for you to adjust to as you went mobile only?
I was really surprised by the whole initial process. I thought, all right, I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to jump in. I thought I was prepared because I had actually spent a couple of weeks prior kind of testing a few things out and, really kind of vetting out that this is going to work. But I was really surprised at how much, how kind of ingrained the PC was into my work habits. So it really was more the habitual tasks that you're just so used to, you don't really have to think about. So just think email, Word, moving files between two different, getting someone a file, kind of even just down to simple things. The first 3 or 4 weeks was really tough. And in some ways, I liken it to acquiring a second language where, at first you really have to think about everything, every step along the way, everything that you want to say, you really have to kind of focus and you really kind of stumble over your words. Whereas after a while, once you get the language down, it comes out fluidly. You don't have to think about it, and it's just responsive. And that really took a good 3 or 4 weeks to kind of get those basic tasks and that basic workflow out of the PC mindset and kind of response and kind of habits that I had into more of a mobile response and habits.
I really like your analogy there. When you start talking about learning a language and how that takes, that's a really great analogy for moving from a PC or laptop, desktop to a mobile device, especially a tablet or a phone. Now, in your case, what dialect did you pick? What device did you actually pick for your language, and why did you pick that one?
Yeah, so I decided to go with Android. And really, it came down to something really simple. I mean, as simple as screen resolution. So from, in testing it out and wanting to get to a single device. So remember, I wanted to consolidate because, if you had a tablet, you've got enough screen real estate. But, I really wanted to try to get it down to one. And the Galaxy Note had just come out. The infamous phablet. It's not a phone. It's not a tablet. So I wanted to, that device had the resolution that when plugged in to a monitor actually made it somewhat usable, as well as kind of out and about. So I tried the Galaxy S3 before, and we had iPhones around the office, but the challenge was screen resolution, and unfortunately right now where we're at with mobile technology, the best that they can kind of do from a resolution perspective is just clone what's there onto the screen, so I really needed as much room, as it were, as I could get. So I went with the Galaxy Note.
So a great segue into the next piece. You want to be able to put it on a screen. What did your office end up looking like? Do you couldn't be typing on the device all day and doing papers and everything else on it. How did you end up shaping your office?
Yeah, so it's interesting. My desk definitely got decluttered. So my office, the desk definitely got decluttered. Didn't need as much stuff or equipment. I have my phone off to the side, and it is plugged into. Well, I have both. We have two different technologies. I have a way to plug into the monitor and also wireless. But I have it plugged into my monitor, so that's full screen. I use a Bluetooth keyboard and a mouse. So really, from a sitting, quote unquote, sitting at my desk in my office, from the tools that most people use, it's not any different. It's just what's it plugged into or connected to at the other end is different, and that simplification down to that device and then when I get up and go, I just grab it. I still have all the exact same capabilities as I do as when I'm sitting down in the office.
So, and you were talking about your monitor, and I know you and I have had a lot of discussions about connecting Android devices versus connecting iOS devices to external monitors, TVs, and the like. I know you originally went through some initial hardships trying to do that. So how'd you end up doing it?
So, the technology that I use is MHL. So when it first started off, over a year ago now, there weren't any kind of native MHL compatible monitors available on the market. So, you had to use a dongle, and it didn't always work, and sometimes it wasn't clear, and you could potentially convert into DVI, but really you need to go straight into HDMI. So, it really took a little bit of playing around with, kind of different monitors different kind of dongles to get it to work. I mean, now I have a native MHL monitor, so it's just one cord plugged straight in. And so that still is a wired connection. The one advantage that MHL has over a wireless connection is if it does charge the device while it's plugged in. So if you have the device constantly running, and from a battery perspective, it definitely puts you in a good position. The other thing we've done in the office is we do use Samsung has a technology called All Share Cast, so that allows me to we go in the conference room, I can just wirelessly connect up to the screens and throw whatever I have on my phone up there. So when clients come in or working with the team here, also have that option as well.
So you started with the Samsung Galaxy Note. Now, did you stay with the Note for the whole time, or did you go with a second device?
Well, I did. I stayed with the Note line. When the Note 2 came out, I did switch from the Note 1 to the Note 2.
Now, if I remember correctly, you actually had some misadventures, is the best way to say it, when it came to upgrading the software. It's a little bit different. For Android, you have to wait for the manufacturer to come out with the software updates, whereas on Apple, because Apple makes the devices plus the software, you tend to get it and all the devices upgrade at once. So why don't you talk a little bit about what happened the first time you tried to upgrade your device there?
Well, there were actually two problems. One was self-induced, and the other was the update. So the update, the first update that I did, there was some incompatibility with MHL. So I actually had to end up. I think I had to go down to the AT&T store, if I remember, and have them roll it back.
It's certainly not
because I wasn't able to plug in and use a monitor, and it was definitely a challenge. The second one, which was self-induced, is once I did get the Note 2, I wanted to try. I just wanted to test out some different routing capabilities and options, and just kind of get some more experience with that. So I actually had the IT department here root the device, and that just ran into typical. I mean, luckily the phone wasn't bricked, but we definitely had some challenges there. And really, some of the biggest challenges were. So the advantage of Android is it's highly customizable. The disadvantage of Android is it's highly customizable, right? So I'd spent a lot of time kind of setting it up to working to, kind of changing it off of kind of, whatever default comes from the manufacturer, and really customizing it to where it made sense from a product, from an enterprise or more of a working productivity perspective, and less as a consumer device. And the challenge is all of those settings, when you upgraded, was lost. So I actually spent quite a bit of time trying to just, reinstalling apps, and I didn't lose any data, right? Because you're using cloud services, Box, Dropbox, etc. So I didn't lose anything, but just getting back to a baseline setup, productivity setup, I was actually kind of surprised at the amount of time that took. And how, if you had to multiply that out across, whole organization, that could actually have a real productivity impact. Through that process, I did end up finding, again, available for rooted devices, there are ways that you can back up all your settings, and, you can get back to your exact state that you're at. But again, it's not.
Did you find something available for non-rooted devices, OEM devices, to actually be able to back up your settings?
No, I mean on a limited basis, but nothing like you can on a rooted device, right? So with a rooted device, you can get it everything and anything, and do a full backup. And then I actually on purpose went and wiped out the phone just to test it, right? Because it was my non-production device at that point. So I was like, oh, let's give this a go and see how that works. So I did wipe the device, and I was able to immediately get back right to the exact same state. So I mean, from that perspective, the test was a success, and definitely learned. How you could do it, but unfortunately it's not, there's definitely disadvantages to rooting your device.
Partially being that a lot of organizations won't support you if you do. So rooting can't be something that most enterprises look favorably on. I know that mine doesn't. So that's certainly one point in not in the favor of doing that for backing up. Have you seen the same thing?
Yeah, no, and I definitely think, there's definitely a use case, I think, for settings down to a particular level that I don't think is being covered yet. That eventually I think that, it gets probably more refined use case that eventually that they'll get there. But definitely want to take that into consideration if you're planning on working on a mobile device, and then need to upgrade, that you could potentially lose a lot of time and effort that you put into that.
So while we're still talking about your device, before we go back to some other questions I have for you, you have a reputation out there. I think your device actually has its own Twitter account, if I'm not mistaken.
It does. So the device is these days it actually isn't that large. I mean, if you look at what is coming out, but when it was initially launched, the Note, that started the whole phablet trend, was just ridiculously large. I mean, I even remember kind of seeing it in the store and just being like, "Holy cow! I can't believe that is an actual phone." So I figured with kind of such a loud and large phone, it deserved a loud and large case. So I actually I bought it because it was a bet from you and Philippe Winthrop on a pink bedazzled case, which has kind of taken on a life of its own. So yes, and it does have its own Twitter handle.
So you can't really miss you in a crowd. You're the guy talking on the phone with the pink bedazzled case. And
Yes.
we've actually seen you've been giving a couple of those out yourself. So,
hey, anybody who wants one, I figure, pink is the new blue. We're breaking down boundaries. Let's go for it. Actually, and I have been in restaurants though, and had the wait staff comment on, "Why do you have a girl's phone?" And I'm like, oh man.
well, it is what it is. But
Yeah.
So you have the device. You get through the first month. You start to build a routine. What's your regular daily routine look like, after you've been doing it for a while?
Well, some of it depends on the day. So, as I mentioned earlier, I don't code much anymore. So a lot of my job functions revolve around communications, marketing, proposals, and sales efforts. So I spend a lot of time on email. I spend a lot of time creating documents. Spend a lot of time using social media tools such as LinkedIn and Twitter. So, I've set up my home screen kind of around those primary functions that, I can kind of get to them quickly. Secondary to those, a lot of collaboration, right? So both strategy docs, proposals, solutions. So big believer in cloud services and apps such as Box, Dropbox. Also, Evernote is a huge favorite for me. Really like the way that you can kind of set it up to how your needs, get lots of notes, anything all the way from my frequent flyer ID all the way down to just a simple to-do list. I think that it's a really great and flexible app for the enterprise. So my daily routine really revolves around kind of whatever meetings and tasks that I have for the day, but they're really kind of app centric, right? They're focused around the kind of going down a list of things that I need to get done, and then having those apps organized in a manner that allow me to kind of execute them and then move that information out to the right people.
Now, I happen to know that you travel a lot because we tend to see each other at a lot of conferences and other stuff. How do you deal with battery life? Because, anytime you're with a mobile, in the office, you have an MHL connector that allows you to stay fully charged while you're running day to day. But once you get out of the office, what do you do? Because I know in the beginning you actually used to carry a laptop as a battery charger.
Yeah, what's funny, I wasn't using the laptop for anything else, so it actually did work as a charger. Like on airplanes, like I stick it down in the bag or put it on the floor at my feet, and then have the phone plugged into it. So that got me a couple of strange looks, but they're like, I can just imagine. They're like, why don't you put the laptop up on the on the tray? Anyway, I did. Well, for the first of all, the Note itself has a fairly decent battery life, so I can go several, half a day, no problem, and not have to worry about it. But if I'm on like an 8-hour flight, going cross country, where definitely no option for plugging in, I have discovered the wonders of a battery charger or battery pack. They're kind of small, phone-sized devices that come in all sorts of power options, but that definitely gets me through whatever situations. And in fact, actually, what ends up happening is I become the mobile charging station for everyone else whose battery is about to die. So when we go to these conferences, and by the end of the day, no one's had time to go back to their room, and everyone's out at dinner, they're all like, "Hey, do you have your battery pack? Can I plug in and charge?" So I should start charging a fee for that. I could maybe make some money.
I can certainly relate to that. I actually went out and bought a charger for myself. Quite a big, very small in size, but quite big, that allows me to recharge my device 4 or 5 times, and including my tablet. I can actually charge my entire tablet once. So.
Well, and the other thing it does is, you see people sitting in, I used to be one of those people that would sit in strange places in airports, just to plug in, or anywhere, you're looking for a charger or a plug anywhere you can, and it really kind of takes the stress. Because it's small, so when you're traveling, you stick it in there and go, and it really takes the stress out of going from place to place, because you know that you'll have the juice, and you know that you'll be able to continue to keep working for definitely a full day and beyond to get done what you need to get done.
I just assumed you sat in those places to meet different people.
Yeah.
But each to their own. So you finished a year. You got done with a year. So what advice would you give people who wanted to go mobile only?
I really would recommend a 2-phase approach. The first is kind of a maybe 1 or 2 week test period to make sure that you can find all the apps that map to the current tasks that you're doing on a PC basis. The second would be going cold turkey. As creatures of habit, we like to go back to that thing that is comfortable and easy. And if you've been on a PC for all your professional career, you're going to default back to it. So, kind of just taking it out of the equation altogether, I think really makes it successful. And to kind of take it back to that language acquisition analogy, you learn the basics in class, but it's really not until you just get dropped in full immersion that you really, really learn the language. And get it under your belt, and are able to communicate without thinking. So, spend a few weeks learning the basics, map out a plan, and then just go for it.
Excellent advice. I wholeheartedly agree. So you talked about some of your your daily routine and what some of your apps were. What's been your most problematic app?
Skype, without a doubt.
So Skype works, and just for everybody knowing, we're actually recording
Skype, and I don't know what it is, and maybe.
See, I don't know whether you guys can hear Ben right now, and actually I know you can't, but we're actually recording this over Skype, and I can tell you that the experience recording this over Skype with Ben, and I tend to talk to Ben, probably every week, every other week over Skype, and worst experience ever on phone. Just it does not work well, but hopefully the interview will come out well. You back, Ben? We lost you there for a sec.
Yeah, no, I'm here. No, and I maybe it's the app, maybe it's the technology, maybe it's the connection speed. Actually, this probably would be a good segue to talk about connectivity just in general, and how there really isn't, everybody talks about anytime, anywhere, but it's really, it's not 100% true. I mean, there really are lots of lots of times where I don't have connectivity still, kind of in daily routines, and that you really kind of need to plan for that. You need to have an offline strategy to.
Yeah, I can't. I can't disagree. I can't agree with you more.
Okay. Yeah, I think that the challenges with Skype is a good segue into why there's this notion of anytime, anywhere isn't really 100% true, and that ubiquitous connectivity isn't there, and that you really need to make sure that you have an offline strategy for those times when you're down and you need the documents or an ability to communicate with people, that you have multiple paths to be able to be successful.
So, what's next for you? So you finished a year mobile only. I'm going to assume that you're going to stay mobile only?
Yeah, no, I mean, I showed up on Monday after getting back from Mobile World Congress, and, just plugged my device in like I did the week before I left. It really is, it comes down to habits, right? So at this point now I've formed habits around mobile devices and there's advantages to it that I can't imagine going back to a PC. I tell you one thing that I would like to check out is kind of this mini range of tablets that are coming out, the 7 and 8 inch size tablets. I hear a lot of people saying a lot of really good things about using them in a productivity environment,
I can say that I did challenge you, and you did say that you would hold an iPad Mini to your head and make a phone call with it. So, and I think if I remember correctly, I actually have a picture of you holding my iPad Mini to your head.
No, it was a full size iPad.
Oh, was it?
It wasn't even a. Oh yeah, no, it was full size. I would have no problem using a 7 or 8 at this point because of having used the Note for so long. Using a 7-inch device as a phone wouldn't be an issue for me. I don't really, I'd probably, it would be nice to have a headset, but I think that screen real estate is so valuable and so important to productivity that and to consolidate down to a single device that wouldn't bother. I would do it.
It's hard to disagree with you. I have an iPad Mini. I have a Nexus 7, and they're both really good sized devices, and they make a difference. But I also challenged you with something else a couple weeks ago. I said, when you finish a year, I'd like to see you try either an iOS device or a Windows Phone device for a couple months to see how you got on with, not just using Android, but looking at some of the other ecosystems that are out there. Have you thought about doing it that way, or?
Yeah, so I was actually on Windows Phone as my primary device before the Android, before using the Note. And I did like the UI, and I did, at that point it was really early on in Windows Phone, and the ecosystem had a lot of holes and shortcomings. But so I'd be curious to go try that out again. Aside from that, I do really like I like iOS. I think that it definitely still has the best kind of ecosystem of apps out there. That tide could shift or is shifting. I think that more and more capability are coming online with for Android, but I would really have no. It's not that I think Android is that great of an operating system. Again, for me, it really came down to screen real estate. There's definitely two things that I found in being mobile that we're not going to get away from anytime soon: monitors and keyboards. Having the more you can look at, the better. The faster you can input data, the better. And those two devices are still the best way that we currently have to do that. So as mobile computing shifts to wearables and other machines and what comes, I still think that those two peripherals are going to be with us for a long time.
So I will assume that we might actually see you with an iPad Mini, it sounds like, if you want to try that 7-8-inch form factor. There really isn't anything.
Yeah, no, I definitely.
On the Windows side, but there is on the Android side. You also have the Galaxy 7, and I know Samsung's got the Note 8 that just came out at Mobile World Congress.
Yeah.
So that stuff's interesting. You do a lot of other stuff. I mean, you write for The Guardian. You have your own blog on Remotely Mobile, and you do some writing on the EMF. But you do these crazy videos. You want to talk a little bit about that for a second?
Yeah. Those came out of a project, kind of in collaboration with SAP, Samsung, and The Guardian. We said, hey, look, enterprise mobility is kind of flat and dry. Let's spice it up a little bit. We'll take this kind of scenario of what if someone only worked on their mobile devices, and what are some of the more kind of extreme or funny situations that someone could get into with working just on a mobile device. So this project has been going on. We've been doing about one video a month. And they've been, whole different scenarios, from losing your phone in a cab to, needing to put together a last-minute presentation, and everybody's busy with other activities, so having to run around and kind of find them where they're at and get the information out of them while they're doing crazy activities. So I think the videos have been really good in terms of, using humor to get people to think about, wow, we could actually use these devices in a productivity perspective, as well as, just kind of pushing the bounds of, if these really were the only thing we had in our life, what does that look like? And, how could you kind of end up in a funny situation? So
no,
the goal is to use humor to get people to start a dialogue.
No, I agree. I think they're terrific. I think you do a great job. I'm actually waiting for my guest starring role. It was supposed to happen when I was supposed to join you in Barcelona, but that fell through for me. But I am looking forward to that. And for those who haven't seen the latest video, no, I will not wax my back. I'm going to leave that to some of your other guest stars. So, we're out of time for this week, but Ben, where can people learn more about what you're doing and what you're up to next?
Yeah, sure. My Twitter's definitely, I'd love to engage with people on Twitter. So that's Palador Benjamin. And then if you want to check out more what from a writing perspective, there's remotelymobile.blog.com. You can just type in mobile only, and you get the Guardian site will come up, and there's a whole series of articles there, both of what I'm doing and what other what we call mobile masters, what other people how they leverage mobile kind of to greater depth than other people, as well as palador.com is another great way just to kind of see what we do from a business perspective.
Excellent. Thank you, Ben. And, it really has been terrific talking to you. And, for those of you that don't know, Ben and I actually also host a Twitter chat on Thursdays, usually at 1 o'clock. And,
Thursdays, Eastern.
Yes, 1 p.m. Eastern. So we like to put the different time zones: 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. UTC or Greenwich Mean Time. But you can certainly follow Ben there and myself. Ben is at Palador Benjamin on Twitter. And, so thanks again, Ben, for joining us. And, that really puts a wrap to episode 1 of the Mobilecast. So if you like the show, tell a friend, leave a review for us on iTunes. You can follow us on Twitter. The Twitter account will be at the Mobilecast. Or you can follow us on the web at thecloudcast.net, and we'll actually have a website probably by episode 2 for the Mobilecast. And you can find links to everything Cloudcast there. And certainly thank you for listening, and we'll be doing this again in a week.